Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video, and in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Shigeoka vs Jerusalem fight. And so if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like video if you do indeed like video, and let's get straight into it. So going into this fight, Shigeoka is 8-0 with 5 KOs, and Jerusalem is 21-3 with 12 KOs. This fight is for the WBC World Minimum Weight title. Shigeoka's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Pradabsri, and Jerusalem's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Diaz. This is in Shigeoka's home country of Japan. Shigeoka is a southpaw. Jerusalem's losses have come versus Kalaza in 2023, Kanoi in 2017, and Munsiri in 2017. And to speak a bit more about what I've just said there, obviously this is the seemingly return to big fights for Jerusalem. He obviously suffered the defeat versus Collazo just last year, which I did a prediction and I thought he would win. Obviously he didn't. He then, there's no discredit for him to lose that fight against somebody who in Collazo is on such a good momentum train at the moment and is really building himself as a great champion. And so, like I say, no discredit for him to lose that fight, but he's gone away since then. He's won a fight since then in just one of the smaller cards, and now he's back fighting another top fighter in the division. And it seems like he's the level of opponent in which any champion has to kind of get through to be able to go on to the next stage. And Shigeoka now, this is his, I believe, first defence of the WBC title because he won it against Pradabsri, and now he's going to defend it against Jerusalem, who is very highly ranked and is deserving of this shot in the process as well. And so, it's an interesting fight to make. It's a fight which makes sense to make realistically to keep Shigeoka fighting against that of top level opposition. Even though he did lose to Collazo, he still looked relatively good, and it wasn't an awful showing from Jerusalem. So he is still shown that he can fight at the top level, and I suppose we will just have to wait and see what the effects of the Collazo loss have been to him realistically. And Shigeoka, I mean, obviously he fought Pradabsri in that last fight. It was a real step up in opponent for him, to be completely honest. And Pradabsri has been a great fighter at this weight, and he was seen as the favourite going into it. But Shigeoka did very, very well, and he looked a level above, and what he was doing not necessarily were anything crazy or anything wild, but he just came in with such confidence and with such will, and with the mindset of that he doesn't know how to lose. And Pradabsri really kind of did show his age to an extent and showed that perhaps he wasn't at the top level anymore. And Shigeoka did properly outclass him in that fight and didn't really give Pradabsri any sort of a chance. And to be able to do that to him, it was impressive to see, and it really did make a statement for in his name in the division. Jerusalem, obviously, like I mentioned, he's come from the win, and so he's back in the winning column at least, and I'm sure that will add an element to his game. Obviously, this in Shigeoka's home country of Japan. Jerusalem has never really been somebody to shy away from being in the away fight, as of obvious. He's shown that, and it's not always gone his way, but he's been more than willing to be able to do that. Shigeoka as a southpaw is always going to add a different element, and to have both of them, both the Shigeoka brothers, fighting on this card, it seems like they like to make that kind of regular occurrence of them both fighting on the same card. It's going to be another entertaining show. I'm going to now speak about Genjaro's fight on this card as well. He's fighting Amparo. Amparo is coming in from what I believe on 4 days' notice, and that's impressive in itself. And Amparo is also coming off a very well fought fight. Obviously he lost, but it was up there with that of a fight of the year type contender, and he really showed a lot of guts and will and desire. And he took some big shots, showed that he does have a chin. And to be fair to Amparo, he's been stopped twice early on in his career, but he never got knocked out or anything bad like that. It was both, early corner stoppages. So to be able to show that he does have a good chin still, and to be able to fight a fight which was such a good fight in his last fight in Paro. That shows that he is, a level in which will make this, even though he is coming in on short notice, still relatively competitive. And so it's a fight in which I am excited for. Shigeoka, Jinjaro Shigeoka, has also built himself a real name, and coming off that Valadares win, it's also, I believe, his first defence as well. And so both of them, both the brothers together, are creating such a big brand for themselves. And obviously, this for the IBF World Minimum Weight title. I think Shigeoka will win via unanimous decision. I think it's going to be a tough fight, and I think Shigeoka, when you're against somebody who is coming in on 4 days' notice and is coming off a loss and hasn't ever realistically won at the top level, there are all the things to think, he could possibly overlook Amparo in this fight. And, I wouldn't recommend he does that at all. I think if he does that, then it could get drawn into a bit more of a fight. And I think Shigeoka has that much clearer boxing ability than Amparo, but Amparo can show will, desire, can counter well, got good timing, and so yeah, I think it's going to be a decision win for Shigeoka, but I don't believe he'll be able to stop him. Going back to the main event though, so Shigeoka as a fighter, front foot type fighter a lot of the time, straight ones and twos that he does and throws very nicely, plants his feet well. He's got good timing / reactions, strong combinations. He'll walk you down, let his hands go, outwork you, get you on the ropes, find his range. He finds it very well, and the way that he fought against Pradabsri, it was not realistically the way that in which you'd kind of recommend a fighter to fight. Like, he kept his hands very low and was very much a target to be hit a lot of the time, but he completely outworked him, got him up against the ropes, just unloaded shots up on the ropes against him, and was consistently catching him with strong shots. And credit to Pradabsri for not going down or anything like that. And still, Shigeoka, like I say, shut out victory and did what he had to do and really showed that confidence and that self-belief and that exciting nature in his game, I suppose. Negatives, I mean, obviously the low guard, clear low guard, and the shots that he was throwing, the body shots, they didn't really look like they were as hard as possibly what you would have wanted him to be throwing. Like, he was throwing a body shot from his own body. He was throwing from the waist to his body with a short distance in between the throw, and so they were not really doing too much, but they were all just point scoring shots, a lot of them. And when he is, like I say, outworking the opponent, it's clear that he is winning. Footwork isn't sometimes a little bit of a problem. I think when he plants his feet at times, it's not always necessary. And, I suppose it's confidence when you are just wanting to walk your opponents down. If you just plant your feet right in front of them, it's not always something that's the best thing to do. He's open to counters, can be a bit too confident, his chin can be in the air, he seemingly can admire his own shots a little bit at times. It's a very common trait to see, but when he lands a shot and he just kind of will just take a second to acknowledge it, and that's when he can get caught with a counter. He does get hit, he doesn't necessarily feint as much as what I think he could possibly do, because with that confident style, you'd often see fighters then go to feint a lot more. Doesn't necessarily do it loads and can get caught by a jab. Pradabsri's main success was coming from a jab, and any kind of main shot he landed was that of a jab, and linked to his chin being in the air and him admiring his shots in the process as well. Jerusalem as a fighter, he's got a high guard, willing to fight on the front foot or the back foot, picks his shots nicely, he won't be bullied, he grows in confidence, he's also willing to let his hands go, he's patient, has got power, he's got stoppages, he's got one punch knockout stoppages, he's efficient in his work, moves well, accurate, experienced, and there's definitely attributes there. I mean, there was a reason why I thought he'd be able to beat Collazo, and that was mainly down to the consistent shots and the efficient work they'd be able to do, and the fact that he can grow in confidence and can, like I say, pick his shots, and if he lands one shot, then that will grow his confidence tenfold. And the fact that he also is just moving consistently as well, and relatively relatively consistent in his movements, and with the high guard as well, it is difficult to land clean on him. The negatives about him, he can be hesitant, especially early, he can be quite hesitant. When he picks his shots, they're nice, but sometimes he can be hesitant, and in that aspect, you could argue there is an inconsistency in that aspect. The speed, he's not overly fast. He can struggle against pace. He can struggle against people who's willing to outwork, and I've just kind of said that Shigeoka is going to try and outwork you. Committing to his shots, like I mentioned, footwork isn't always especially anything incredible. Keeps his feet quite close together a lot of the time and can stand a bit upright. He doesn't really try and move in and out at all, but it looks like he has the style to try and move in and out, but then doesn't actually move in and out, if that makes sense. And then he gets caught in seemingly two minds a bit. Head movement isn't always necessarily the best. He's lost seemingly at every step up that he's faced, and it's a point which I feel like I have to make. He has lost at every step up he has taken, and so we'll have to wait and see if Shigeoka can show this clear step up. Shigeoka is the favourite for this fight, and I think that Shigeoka will win via TKO in round 7. I think, like I mentioned, I believe he will outwork Jerusalem, be able to be in his face the entire fight. He might get caught with shots, Shigeoka, but I believe he'll be able to ride a couple of shots and then be able to outwork him and then eventually stop him. And if he does stop him, I believe that is a statement made from Shigeoka, and it's, like I mentioned, he didn't really get stopped relatively easily, and it's doing that better than that of Collazo. And so, yeah, I think it's a statement which he will make. Then we could go on to fight Shigeoka. Hopefully, big fights for him afterwards. Collazo, WBO champion, why not put him in there? I feel like that could be a good fight to make, but I don't know if Golden Boy want to build him up a bit more. Collazo, Pradabsary, I believe that is also another fight which, uh, you know, possibly a rematch. I don't know. There's not really too many contenders in the division in which I could see him fight, but I suppose he did convincingly win against Pradabsary, so maybe not. I don't know, to be honest. There's not really too many huge names. I mean, if he wants to move up and fight Non-Chinga for the RBF title, that would be a great fight, but not necessarily a fight which I believe will happen. So, it'd be interesting to see which path he goes down. I doubt he'll probably ever end up actually fighting his brother, but I don't discredit him for not really wanting to do that. But yeah, that is it for today's video. I hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you did indeed like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.